Self-publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers. No more barriers. No one standing between you and your readers. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello, it's the Self-Publishing Show with me, James Blatch. Welcome along. If you're listening to this on release day, it's the 21st of June. We are just a few days away from our big annual conference, the Self-Publishing Show Live, Europe's largest gathering of indie authors, which is going to take place in London on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. And if you want to come along and join us, you've got today, basically, until midnight tonight. We can't sell tickets any closer to the event than that, so we can't sell them over the weekend. And they won't be available on the door. So if you want to snag a ticket and join me and several hundred others, and up to 916, I think is our absolute limit now, you can go to learnselfpublishing.com/SPS live. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to hear from some industry titans. We're going to hear from some titan authors. We're going to hear from authors who make enough that they don't have to do their 9 to 5 every week. We're going to hear from people providing services to the indie community. We're going to hear from people that you will recognize, like E.L. James and Lucy Score and Ricardo Fayette, and some people you may not know who are going to perhaps surprise you with some of the lessons and teachings that we're going to have. And I'm going to be doing a session on AI, which is the big topic, of course, one of the big topics that we're talking about at the moment. And there might even be some surprise announcements if you're there in person as well. So looking forward to that. That is next week. If you're listening to this on Wednesday or Thursday next week, then I'll be lying down in a darkened room with a few others, Catherine in particular, who's done an absolutely fantastic job of organising this conference. A big shout out to Catherine, keeping all the balls in the air, all the plates spinning and all the other cliches to get that conference going. Okay, look, there's not much to talk about. We are absolutely very, very busy. It's Wednesday night as I'm recording this. I'm doing this very quickly and then moving on to 100 other things I've got to do between now and the conference starting on Tuesday. So let me just introduce to you our interviewee, which is one of the companies that will be at the conference on Tuesday and Wednesday. Dan Wood is going to be there from Draft2Digital. The interviewee, although, is Nick Thacker, who works with D2D, but he looks at some of the other author services. So D2D is a service that will distribute your book wide. So it'll distribute your book to dozens of retailers around the world. So you upload it once to Draft2Digital, it makes sure it's in Barnes & Noble and Kobo. And then, there are a gazillion others that it goes to. And it could even be Amazon if you want it to distribute to Amazon as well, if you don't want to do that yourself. So they take a cut of sales, but it saves you a painful business of putting your book everywhere. But they have some other services as well alongside that. They have an email service provider exclusively for authors, and they have a cover designer, obviously for authors. Who else would need a cover designed? And that is the domain of Nick Thacker, a thriller author from Colorado. And I know Nick quite well, met him over the years, so it's always a pleasure to chat to him. So Nick's up here. I'll be back for a quick chat at the end of the interview.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hey, Nick Thacker, welcome to the Self-Publishing Show. When you first joined just now, I thought you'd wrapped yourself in the Union Jack flag, but I think it's just your top.
This is my local hockey team.
I was going to say, is it hockey? It looks like a hockey thing.
Yeah, yep, ice hockey, yep.
And for people, for people in the rest of the world, ice hockey, not field
ice hockey, exactly. Yeah, not field hockey. Nope.
No, it's hockey. The default for hockey in the UK is on grass. If you say hockey, that's what people mean. But
I know, and that's unfortunate.
If you say hockey, it's ice, isn't it?
It's unfortunate too. The ice hockey is so much more fun, and there's already too many sports happening on grass. We need a lot more ice.
Good. Too much grass has too much as a monopoly. We need to end the grass monopoly of sport.
End the pitch. Yeah.
Listen, we're going to talk about Draft2Digital because you work there now. You got a job there.
I do. I'm a company man now.
Yeah, you're the man. You're the corporate man. What are you doing at Draft2Digital, Nick Thacker?
No, thanks. I'm the vice president of Draft2Digital, which is weird. It's a new role, but we're calling it vice president of author success. And to put it succinctly, we as Draft2Digital, as you know, have always been, how do we help authors without charging a fee beforehand? We want to distribute books to all the stores and we'll take a royalty if you make money at those stores. But there's never been a time when we've offered a service that you pay upfront. And so when I came on board, we've had this conversation, I think, on this call years ago. I sold author email to Draft2Digital, and it was kind of an acqui-hire, right? Where instead of a big, multi-billion-dollar payout, I'm sure they would have offered. They said, "Why don't you come work for us and you keep this thing running?" So author email is under that department, if you will, newly, and we've also just acquired a company called selfpubbookcovers.com, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's book covers, and so when we did that, we decided now we're charging for services. Now we're charging for products. And we want to sort of silo that to make sure that we're not coming across as some sort of hybrid publisher or vanity press, because that is not at all what we're doing. We're offering services and products to authors that they need. And one of our core tenets of this venture is to do it in an ethical and financially attractive way for authors. It's always authors first with Draft2Digital. And so that hasn't changed. I'm now running both of those companies, and anything else we may acquire in the future, hopefully. But for now, the big one is book covers. We're doing pre-made book covers and customs, things like that.
Okay, well, let's break that down a bit. Let's talk about author email to start off with, because It's been a while since that's been running. The company has matured a bit. Where do you position it? So first of all, just describe, it's a mailing list service, right? Alongside MailChimp, MailerLite, ConvertKit, etc. Where
exactly.
do you position?
Well, we are the most cost-effective email marketing platform. We are for authors only, which is one of the reasons we're able to be so inexpensive. We don't have to deal with the internet marketing riffraff, the scum, the scammers, the people like that, because authors just need to send emails to their mailing list, and almost nothing of what authors do, generally speaking, is going to be something that raises a red flag. So for that reason, we can keep it very affordable. Now, when it was first brought into Draft2Digital's fold, the idea was we've got this resource, the development resource, to make this really, really nice, fancy, look great, UX, UI changes, overhauls, all that. And that was the plan. And then this little thing called acquiring Smashwords happened. And so we put author email back on the back burner. And it's been there for longer than we all want, but for good reason, because we've been focusing on Smashwords. Migrating user accounts takes an ungodly amount of time and resource investment. But it's definitely not forgotten. So author email always has worked, but there's always been a list of things where, hey, we want to fix this. We want to make this better. We want this to be improved. And we just haven't gotten to develop that as much as we want yet. But that's absolutely still in an open beta is what we call it. It's working great. Deliverability is absolutely as high as it always was, and very competitive with anything else in the industry.
Yeah, I was going to ask about deliverability, because that is the big thing with email service providers. I mean, I'm an experienced user of quite a few. Keep is the one that we use for SPF, and that's got 250,000, 300,000 odd names on it, and I get emails very regularly from them about things that they think we might do occasionally that impact deliverability, and then tips on deliverability. And I know as a company, they fight this almost never-ending battle on making and getting that deliverability up. And it's frustrating when you send an email out to that number of people, and then we get some support requests from people they just never saw the email. It just never got it got blocked at ISP level. But you think author email, because it's authors, because it's not people sending Bitcoin scam emails out, you've got a pretty good reputation already.
That's one of the major reasons, of course, is who's using your service. That affects deliverability, of course, because you're sending emails through somewhere else, almost inevitably, unless we had our own rack of servers and a closet somewhere, and we absolutely will not do that. That's just a nightmare. You're going to be using someone else's infrastructure, even if you're MailChimp, even if you're MailerLite, even if you're ConvertKit. There's some infrastructure they're bouncing emails through. It could be as simple as sending it through the ISP. The end user has to get that email from Comcast over here in the United States, or AT&T, whatever it is. And so for one reason, the users that we've got are great because they're authors. They're not trying to scam anyone. But another big reason, James, that where deliverability is really high is we've been working with the same delivery servers for over probably 8-9 years now. And we've just been slowly coaxing them and warming them up to who we are and what we're doing. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, there's no way around that. You can't tomorrow start your own email marketing service and have deliverability be as high. It just takes time and lots of effort and minutia to get this thing warmed up. And we've got a couple major servers right now, and we've got probably a handful of others that we're always warming up. And the way we decided to do it early on was we didn't want that closet, back here of servers sending emails. We wanted to use a professional company that all they do is host email servers. And so we picked a few and we started working with them, and then we've picked other ones. So now we've got a great collection of delivery servers that we pay money to every month so that authors can send on our behalf, or I guess vice versa, we can send on authors' behalf. And this is not entirely different than most email marketing services do it. We just chose to do it in a way that we're not using one company for their delivery servers. We're not just using AWS or Email Octopus or whatever. We've got a bunch of these, and so we can both bounce your emails from one box to another, so we can keep deliverability high. Sometimes they flag us for something that comes through, and we have to work with them to get that fixed. Meanwhile, we can route those emails to another company's servers. So it's just a great way using the cloud infrastructure that's already existing to be able to maintain deliverability and reputation. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's a lot of these little reasons like that. The biggest one, of course, is that we work with authors and only authors. And there is a small vetting process. So if you sign up and want to send, us your MLM and, Bitcoin scams, like you said, then we're going to say, hey, that's not what we do. Go choose another service. We're for authors only. We've done that in the past. Yeah.
And this is something that goes on in the background that a lot of people who use email service providers don't realize there's reputation building, which takes a long time, which is what you've said you've been doing. So that sounds like a good fit. And I've got a final question. How do you ensure that you're only being used by authors?
Well, as I said, we have a small vetting process. And what that means is there's never going to be a 100%, guaranteed way of ensuring that you're an author. And the truth is, we get people who are authors and running a business that has nothing to do with authors. And so those bring up some questions like, do we allow them to use the service? Do we not? Is there something in between that we can figure out? The truth is, what we try to do is, what we do actually is look at what is being sent. And if we see that there's somebody sending all these emails, they're getting a high bounce rate, there's all these flags that we can see that imply something isn't right in the way they're sending. It's either something's broken, they haven't verified an email address, or they're sending things that they shouldn't be sending, and they're getting pushback from the end users. And so we'll come down and say, hey, you can't be doing that on this platform. If you're not an author, we're going to kindly ask you to leave, and we'll cancel your account and refund your money. That's how we do it. And so far, it's been working pretty well. As I said, you can't guarantee that we're always going to be perfect. But there's, we're looking at what gets sent every single minute. And if we see something that raises a flag, we start asking questions.
Okay. I'm looking slightly yellow because we just had a power cut in Huntingdon where I am, and power's back on, but we're going to resume this interview as if nothing happened and make it all smooth in the edit. I just look yellow because my lights have not rejoined the internet yet. Okay, so we talked about author.email, which I think is the address, isn't it? Author.email.
Author.email or authoremail.com, either one.
And if they want to check that out, I think you are very competitive. I just got up your little slider. So if you had 10,000 subscribers, that's less than $20 a month compared to MailChimp at $130 a month. So that is a very significant difference. Even MailerLite is 75 at that point. In fact, you don't really go up until pretty high. Is it 20,000? I think it goes up to the next jump.
Yep. Yeah, we start at $10.99 a month for under 10,000 subscribers, and then the next jump is $29.99 for I think up to 49,000 subscribers. And that was the goal, James. I mean, when we started this, I was paying somewhere $300 at MailChimp, and I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. We don't need the CRM tools that MailChimp offers. We don't need to manage, all the different detailed granular things that MailChimp allows you to do. It's fantastic if you want to run an enterprise resource, platform or something, but that's not what authors needed. It's not what I needed. I just wanted to send emails and have autoresponders and lists. And that's absolutely what we do. And so we just didn't have any of those additional features that wouldn't be useful for authors. We only focused on the ones that would be useful. And
what about things like integration with other tools like Lead Pages or Wix forms? Can that integrate with author email?
In a way, yes. It's not easy. I'll admit. That's one of the things on our list of that we never got to. Right? Was let's make sure these integrations are much easier. Right now, it's workarounds. It's possible, of course, but it's not. It's not as easy as it should be. We do have integrations, one-click integrations with services like BookFunnel, Story Origin, things like that. So it is possible to run your author business and use author email as the segmentation and list building tool that some of these other services provide. But one of the major overhauls that we've got planned is a UX UI change, which for anyone listening doesn't know what that is, the interface. The interface isn't where we want it to be. It's not bad, but it's just not as intuitive as we'd like. And so that's a major part of what we've got coming down the pipe, hopefully soon.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's author email. And the other side of the business that you're looking after, the other business within the business you're looking after is covers. So just tell us about that, because I know it's a separate domain, isn't it?
It is. It's a wholly different business that we've acquired about 11 months ago. It's called selfpubbookcovers.com. So depending on when you go, that site may or may not redirect to the new site, which we're building now. But we have taken over Self Pub Book Covers, which has been around for a while. It's over a decade old. The owners of that website are fantastic people, and they just wanted to make sure that the company went somewhere that cared about authors first and foremost. And so that's what we're trying to maintain as we go forward, the integrity of that business. But it's a pre-made book cover marketplace. So rather than, if you're a designer and you set out to shingle as a book cover designer and you have some pre-mades on your website, this is a marketplace for multiple designers to offer their covers for multiple authors. And one of the main unique selling propositions of this website was and is that any author can come, purchase a cover, and customize the text on that cover. So add a title, add their name. They can configure that. They can change the text right there in the browser, download the cover that's high res, ready to go for upload to Amazon, Draft2Digital, wherever. That, if you are looking at the older site, is working and very outdated. No fault to anyone who built it. It was built 13, 14 years ago. And it has worked flawlessly since then, which is kind of a testament to how well it was built. But it obviously looks outdated and it needs an overhaul. And so what I've been doing, I've got a small team working with me here on the Draft2Digital side, is what I've been doing is building a brand new version of this. And we are launching, it's bookcovers.com. We've acquired that domain. Everything from selfpubbookcovers.com is going to be transitioned over. It's in process of being transitioned over, users, covers, all that stuff. And we've just totally revamped everything about the site. So the marketplace aspect is far easier to navigate. Payouts are automated rather than manual. Authors and designers can go make an account and communicate with each other a little bit to get the cover they want. And authors can still go in and customize their covers, but the editor for that is much, much easier to use. And the design is just better because of modern technology. We're not quite done yet as of recording this. But we are launching in phases. So the first phase is ready right now, which is if you go to bookcovers.com, you will see the website, what it's going to look like. There's some placeholder covers that we're getting some of the old covers transitioned over as we speak. You won't be able to create an account. You won't be able to purchase. You won't be able to do any of the things we're talking about. That's our phase 2. And that's what we expect to come out sometime end of summer. And we're very excited about this. It's a huge, huge initiative. But the idea is, again, what do authors need to publish their book? And of course, a book cover is a requirement. And so we're hoping that we can offer fantastically designed book covers at an attractive price that will also lift up the designers who are doing this. And they have a whole marketplace now where they can sell their designs. And so anyway, that's the premise of the website. I need to work on the elevator pitch a bit. It's a bit long, but you get the idea of what we're trying to do here. And of course, if there's something you pre-mades is the idea behind the marketplace, but we do offer custom covers. We do offer ways to modify a cover if you see an image you like, but it's not quite right. And all of this stuff is mostly automated. It's back and forth with the designer who will then either do the modification or say that they can't, at which point we've got an in-house designer who will get it. So it's a really elaborate system that I'm very happy. It's quite streamlined in the way it works. And hopefully the industry feels the same way when they see this. It's going to be hopefully very, very good and beneficial for the industry at large.
Yeah. So is it in part like a marketplace like Readsy or Fiverr.com, and in part an automated system? It's got a bit of both. You can basically pick up a cover designer there, or you can work with the automation tools and modify an existing cover.
Exactly, it's both. So the automation is really just, I'm saying that because that's been my biggest headache with running the old site, is the things that needed to be automated were not, and it's a lot of back and forth with that. I'm just trying to remove any of the back and forth that's unnecessary. So if you're an author, you go to bookcovers.com, you can find a cover designed by somebody, and if you like it, you can customize it right there even before you purchase it. Once you buy the cover, the designer gets paid automatically. You have a cover ready to go in your dashboard that you can customize as many times as you want. This isn't a one-time thing. So you've got the image in place, and then you can put your own text on there and change the text, add a subtitle, whatever you need to do. If it becomes part of a series, add the series tag for as long as you are using our website. And so then you just re-download the cover every single time. Some of the things that I mentioned are automated, are things like if you know you're going to do a print wrap, if you're going to do a full wrap, paperback, for example, you can purchase the cover and then check a box and say, I would also like the full wrap. And you don't have to email us. You don't have to find the designer and hope they're still around. You purchase it. And if the designer can't complete that project for you and make and design a full wrap, then we do it in-house and you get it within 48 hours. So that part of, is what I'm saying is automated. You can find your cover and everything you need for that cover, audiobook, custom, modifications, things like that. And it just makes it a lot easier. And then of course, the marketplace idea is to make it a little bit more social. So make it a little bit more, so that if you're a designer, you can come in here, not just sell cool book cover designs, but you can actually build a store and people can keep coming back. Authors can keep coming back to you because they like what you've done. And so you'll have your own storefront on our page where you can show off your covers, run promotions. All that stuff is fully automated. You can run ads on the website to, get yours to the top of our homepage, things like that. So we're really excited about this. I'm hoping that the author community will be as well. But we've got so many authors and designers that have used the old site, and every single one that I've talked to is excited to have a newer platform that's easier to use. And I only expect that to grow as we go.
Yeah, sounds great. And this feels like it's kind of Draft2Digital's longer term plan is to have author services alongside its core service of distribution of books.
Yeah, that was one of our original initiatives, was this idea that you go through the Draft2Digital process to upload your book, and there's a question that says, do you have a book cover? And if you do, you upload your book cover image. If you don't, we say, go get one. And so the idea was, what if we just linked to another website that we know and trust? And that became, well, now let's purchase a company. Now let's, get this redone and everything. And we tend to want to make things as easy as possible for the authors, which makes things more complicated for us on the back end. But again, at the end of the day, how much cooler would it be for us to have a fully integrated system where you're on Draft2Digital's platform, click a link, and it says, pick a cover. And you pick a cover, put your text and title, fonts, things like that, and then you're done. And that's all this is going to be.
Yeah. Dara mentioned AI, which is having an impact in lots of areas of our industry, including cover design. Is this something that you've got your eyes on, or are you keeping away from it for now?
Oh my gosh. Well, we have no choice but to keep our eye on it, right? I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not following very closely how the U.S. and et al. Is dealing with, this sort of fair use stuff, which is kind of the big legal topic. So I'll stay away from that. What I will talk about is how we approach this as a policy, as a company with, the need to have a policy regarding, can I use AI to design my cover? Historically, selfpubbookcovers.com had a policy that said no AI whatsoever. You cannot use AI. And then, of course, if you're following along in the industry, that is a really difficult thing to define. What is AI? Well, did I use Grammarly at all when I wrote the book? Or did I use, generative fill in Adobe to do the background? Which I would argue are uses of AI. And so it's really difficult is the answer. What we've done now, the policy, if you will, is to say, we don't want a book cover that is click a button, design a, cover in AI, whatever that means. If you're using, Adobe Firefly or Midjourney, we don't want you to say, imagine a book cover for this, and then have an image and upload that and you're done. That's not the intent of the marketplace. We do want designers to design. But it's also true that designer can use, for example, Adobe, generative fill to say, I need to fill out the rest of this background image with, like content, and you can click a button in Photoshop and do that. And so there's no way to prove that an author or an artist did or did not use that. And so we can't really come down and say you can't do that. But it's also true that this is a way to make the design more efficient or more, more usable in different iterations. And the designer still has to know what they're doing in order to place a stock photo on top of that, in order to blend those layers together. There's all sorts of design elements that cannot be done with AI at this point. And I believe maybe one day they will be able to be done. But even then, I think it's going to take someone who understands design, who understands composition, who understands layout. And so that's our policy at this point. It's not as long-winded as what I just said, but the intent is we want designers to design book covers. And if you use a stock element from a stock website, you don't know that that wasn't generated by AI in the first place. There's no way to tell. And we've always said that using stock photos is allowed. And so that's not changed. What we're just trying to stay away from is clicking a button, getting a fully designed book cover with every element on it, and you're done. That's not really helpful to the industry at this point. And so what we're trying to do is say, design your book cover. If you need to use an element that was generated with AI, like the sword, for example, was wrong, or the fire was the wrong color, things like that. We've always been able to manipulate photos and things like Photoshop, and that is how I think AI is being used really well. So I hope that answers your question. Anyone coming to the website, you can read the official policy, which is very much just the same thing, just saying, look, there's no way to really tell. We don't want images that are fully baked AI out of the box. But we also know that we can't police this nearly as well as people would hope.
Yeah, I think that seems like a sensible way, because I think using AI to get the stock image, to get the image right, the kind of key figure you want or location you want. We've all had this over the years of you kind of run out of the same stock images that everyone else is using, and AI has amazingly allowed us to suddenly have like the Capitol building on the wonks like this, someone's running. That's replaced stock images. But all that does is give you some elements needed by a designer to create a great cover. It doesn't create a great cover by itself. So I think you're doing authors a service in saying you do need a designer ultimately, because the covers are much better.
Right. I believe so. I think I've always said I don't believe covers sell books, but they are absolutely a reason why you may not sell a book. Right. Yeah. It's too late in the game now. There's too much saturation in the market for good book covers that if you have a cover that's subpar, people won't click it. People won't decide to read the description, to read the blurb, and then buy it because they won't even get there. So you have to have a cover that's been thought through enough to say this matches the expectation of the reader in this particular genre. That's it. No one's going to click on the cover and go, oh my gosh, this picture is so amazing, I'm going to buy it regardless of what it's about. We just don't do that, right? But it does have to be good enough. It does have to be able to fit into a genre at a thumbnail size that looks like it belongs there. And then,
I think signaling the genre is the most important thing it does. The second most important thing it does is just look professional. And if it does those two, it's done its job. It doesn't need to be as you say, a Mona Lisa work of art after that.
Right.
Good. Well, that's great. And D2D's core business, is that something that's not really in your VP sphere? You are the guy doing these add-ons, these extra value-added things for authors?
That's right. Yeah, my role, I don't have any say or any push really on how we distribute books. There's much smarter people doing all that. But I am absolutely involved with, day-to-day operations, things like, talking to the groups and figuring out what we want to do. I'm part of the company as much as anyone else. But yeah, my day-to-day role is very much working on author success. How do we make authors more successful through services and tools and products that we can potentially provide at a cost that's very, very reasonable, especially compared to, the vanities out there, the ones trying to make a buck off the back of an author, without really giving them what they're wanting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, people can visit Draft2Digital at draft2digital.com. You are not coming to London, I don't think, but I think Dan is. Is that right?
Yep, I'm not this year. Dan doesn't like to bring anyone along, so he can have all the fun by himself. But we'll next year maybe.
If Dan's lucky, he'll get a tour of London statues with me. I know it was a highlight for him last year when I took him to a statue and gave him a lecture. He still talks about it.
I would like that tour myself, but I'm have to make that happen next year. I'd like the James Blatch tour statue.
Yeah, I promise you. Remind me where you are, Nick. Are you West Coast?
Almost. I'm Colorado. Yeah, so it's
Colorado. Okay. Right.
If you're familiar with Hunger Games, we're the region that didn't get decimated. I think we're District 1.
District 1.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting up my
Right.
my little sign. Okay, excellent. Well, Nick, thank you very much indeed. Great explanation of those two products, and a bit of shout out, of course, for D2D. They will be at the conference if you're coming along next week. You can have a chat with Dan, and hopefully we'll see you in London at some point.
Some point, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me and for the time. I really appreciate it.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
There we go. There is Nick Thacker. And if you want to speak to Dan Wood, he'll be there on Tuesday and Wednesday at the South Bank Centre in London for our conference. Last chance to buy a ticket. learnselfpublishing.com/SPS Live. That closes at midnight tonight, regardless of how many have been sold. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much indeed. All that remains for me to say is it's a goodbye from me. So goodbye.
Get show notes, the podcast archive, and free resources to boost your writing career at selfpublishingshow.com. Join our thriving Facebook group at selfpublishingshow.com/Facebook. Support the show at patreon.com/selfpublishingshow. And join us next week for more help and inspiration so that you can make your mark as a successful indie author. Publishing is changing, so get your words into the world and join the revolution with the Self-Publishing Show.